The Seattle Seahawks released their depth chart for both the offensive unit, defensive unit, and their special teams unit. And I want to make sure that you get that information as fast as possible, 12s. It's Will Ortner here on Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. And you can see from this graphic, I tweeted out the depth chart basically as soon as it was unofficially released. You're going to want to make sure that you follow me on X. It's right down below on our lower third, just at Will Ortner. It's going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, information, and videos on your favorite Team 12s. Now let's get into the video. Now, as you can see here from the unofficial depth chart, this is the offensive side of the ball. Now, there weren't too many surprises, I think, as I was going through both offensively and defensively. The guards all kind of looked exactly how I thought. I thought that Sundell and I thought that Jones would be kind of your swing offensive lineman. You know, you look at the wide receiver room, everyone's kind of in the spots that I expected. But there is one surprise that I want to make sure that I get into. But before I do that, I do want to jump over to the defensive side of the ball where you can see, hey, it's basically the same. We went through our projected starters and our projected depth charts earlier on here at the channel on Seahawks Today, and there weren't very many surprises or changes from the position groups that I've been kind of alluding to on what I thought would be where. Who was going to be starting, who was going to be backups, but there were some slight changes on both the defensive side and the offensive side, and because I'm biased, guess what? We're jumping into the offense first. And in my eyes, there's one shock. There's one surprise, and it's at that tight end 2 spot. Now, in my eyes, Elijah Arroyo has done more than enough, and he's shown his versatility enough that he should be your tight end 2. But when we take a look at our depth chart, you're going to notice someone very specific is missing. Because right now, Seattle has A.J. Barner as tight end 1. Perfectly okay with that. Fully expected him to be there. But they have Eric Saubert as tight end 2 and not Elijah Arroyo. He's your tight end 3, the first tight end backup. Caller-up's your tight end 2, a.k.a. your second tight end backup. In my eyes, what Arroyo is able to do, he should not be that third tight end. He needs to be your second tight end. All preseason long, he went out and showed you that he could block in the run game. He was vicious. He showed that he could play in a wing spot. He showed that if you wanted to use him in a fullback position, they're not going to want to use him there. They want Robbie Utes there, of course. They could still use him if there was a doomsday scenario and there were some injuries. Elijah Arroyo made more catches out of the backfield than Saubert did in the preseason. I understand that we 12s are not there every single day at practice. We're not in the meeting room. Maybe Saubert is answering the questions better. Maybe he's got a deeper knowledge of the playbook. Arroyo is a rookie. Those things do happen. But the fact that Arroyo isn't your tight end 2 coming out of the gate, in my eyes, is simply just a mistake. And I believe that there should be a change there. Now, before I get into the rest of the Seattle Seahawks depth charts, I got a little something I want to tell you about. Now, our sponsor for today's video is the HOF app. Our listeners not only get a 7-day free trial, but also 50% off their first month. Just download the HOF app and use code CHAT at checkout. Now, you know me, 12s. I love to gamble on sports, responsibly, of course, but I'm not always the best math guy. When I'm gambling, I'm always looking for that slight edge, and the HOF app gives me that edge. Sometimes I need help when I'm in the lab crafting up my bets, especially my parlays. So I use the HOF app to find the historical data and trends that I'm searching for to give myself the best chance to hit on my bets and parlays. We all have that one friend, let's call him Steve, who constantly complains about losing a 4-leg parlay on their very last leg. The HOF app can help Steve and you. The HOF app crunches millions of data points in seconds to help guide you on whatever bet you want to place. The app is super easy to use. Now, I don't have to just rely on my gut when I'm making my bets. I can use math and analytics created by Ivy League sports geeks to bet smarter, not harder. For a limited time only, our listeners not only get a 7-day free trial, but they also get 50% off their first month when they use code CHAT at checkout. Just download the HOF app on iOS or Android, enter code CHAT, and you're all set. You don't want to miss out. Now, as we dive into the rest of the offense, it looks kind of how we expected it to look. In the quarterback room, look, no shock. Sam Darnold, he's QB1. Frankly, in my eyes, he's been getting a little bit too much hate. Maybe we'll have a video later on. That's what they call in this business a tease. Here on Seahawks Today, you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That video could drop any day now. Drew Lock's going to be QB2. Jalen Milroe, look, he's QB3. You're going to see a little bit of him week 1. Mike Macdonald has already said that. Offensive line-wise, there is your starting group. Jalen Sandell and Anthony Bradford had been announced as starters. What I found incredibly interesting is when it comes to the interior offensive line, Sandell is going to be the player that moves. Oluwatimi will come in as a starter. So if Gray Zabel went down with an injury, fingers crossed that doesn't happen, Jalen Sandell would move to guard. Oluwatimi would come in and play center. Same thing if Anthony Bradford went down. Now, when it comes to the tackle position, this is where you're going to see Jones come in. So if Charles Cross or Abraham Lucas, again, knock on wood, no injuries here, fingers crossed, if one of your tackles went down, Jones would actually come in and he would then be your swing tackle. I like how this offense looks. Jones played the majority, in fact, he played all of the preseason because Charles Cross was down with an injury. He had his finger issues. He played very well in all of your preseason games. He looked great at joint practice. Sandell has proven that he's a versatile player, and he's a player that I think gives you an extra added athleticism at that interior offensive line position that you just can't go without when you are talking about this long zone scheme system. In my eyes, you need a quick player at that interior. You get it with Gray Zabel. You for sure get it with Jalen Sandell. And if you have an injury to Anthony Bradford, well, Oluwatimi has shown that he can be big, strong, and physical. You now get to use Sandell in an even more athletic role at that guard spot. When we jump into the backfield, Kenneth Walker has held on to that running back 1 position. Now, in my eyes, I don't think that this is incorrect, but I would look at it more as a 1A and 1B situation. I'll get into that more in a second. George Halani obviously earned that running back 3 spot. He is your last running back in the running back traditional room. Obviously, Robbie Oots and Russell are going to be rounding out your fullback room. I kind of love that you got 2 fullbacks. Now, I know that Russell is on more so because of his special teams play. I love it, and I love Robbie Oots. He's slowly becoming America's sweetheart. Now, I mentioned it earlier. Hey, Seattle has a running back 1A and 1B, and I think the best way to keep Kenneth Walker healthy the entire year and to keep Zach Charbonnet healthy the entire year is to have them split carries. Now, that doesn't mean that if Kenneth Walker has 10 carries, Zach Charbonnet has to have 10 carries. What I mean by this is I want close to equal touches. There shouldn't be a game where one running back has 70% of the touches out of the running back room and the other one has 30. In my eyes, they should both be right around 60-40. 50-50 would be the most ideal. I think, one, it keeps Kenneth Walker healthy. It also keeps Zach Charbonnet ready to go, keeps him rolling. It's very difficult as a running back to come into a game where, hey, you haven't gotten a lot of touches and then be expected to go right away. I also think that Charbonnet adds an element in the pass blocking game that Kenneth Walker just doesn't. If a team is bringing an all-out blitz, a nice way to keep Sam Darnold upright and healthy and give him some nice peace of mind, have a running back in there that can block well for him. Now, that's just my opinion. I think that they should both split carries. Maybe you think differently than myself. That's fine. I trust your opinions. In fact, I want to know what your opinion is. If you think that Kenneth Walker should get the majority of the carries, make sure you go in the comment section right down below. Type KW in the chat. That's going to let me know that you think Kenneth Walker should be running back 1 and should get the majority of the carries. If you say, hey, I agree with Brock Heward, I like all the things Will's talking about. I think that Zach Charbonnet is even better than what Will's giving him credit for. He should be the featured back. Head on down into the comment section and type ZC for Zach Charbonnet. And We'll let you guys decide. I don't know if that's how Mike Macdonald's going to decide. I don't know if that's how Clint Kubiak's going to decide playing time, but that's how I'm going to let you decide who you think should be the running back number 1. Now, jumping into the defensive side of the depth chart, again, there aren't a whole lot of surprises. I didn't look at any big position rooms and go, wow, there needs to be a change here, or I didn't see that coming. But there is one unanswered question that I think we will see answered, but we might not know the true answer until probably about week 4, week 5, and that's going to be in the secondary. Now, right here, I have the Seahawks cornerback depth chart built and listed. You're going to notice that Josh Jobe, in my eyes, is still the right cornerback. Devon Witherspoon is that nickel back. That's a position that he has played in previous seasons. If they are in a position where they do not have a nickelback, Devon Witherspoon will be in Josh Jobe's spot. Josh Jobe, in my eyes, and in, well, the depth chart's eyes, unofficially released by the Seahawks, Josh Jobe is the second right cornerback. But we know the Seahawks like to use that nickelback. That doesn't mean that Devon Witherspoon will be the nickelback in some situations, because if we look at the Seahawks safety room, you'll see that Kobe Bryant has been playing that free safety. Julian Love's been playing that strong safety. But Nick Emmanwori, the backup at strong safety, in the preseason, got a lot of valuable reps in that nickelback spot, or some people would call it a star spot nowadays. Everyone has their own lingo, as kind of a big nickel. And the reason for that is because Emmanwori is bigger than Devon Witherspoon, and so he's able to go toe-to-toe with more of a tight end body or a stronger, more physical wide receiver. Are we going to have Nick Emmanwori be that first nickelback that comes out, or are we going to see Josh Jobe come out, be the right cornerback so that Devon Witherspoon can move to nickel? I don't know that we're going to get that true answer from Mike Macdonald, because he's a guy, defensive coordinator type of coach. He wants to keep everything close to the vest, right? He doesn't want to release anything. And as the head coach, it doesn't behoove him to release anything. He doesn't have to. But I also wonder if this is going to be matchup based. So when you're taking on the 49ers week 1, in my eyes, it would make more sense to have Devon Witherspoon come in as your nickelback. Why? The 49ers have smaller, more slender wide receivers. Now, it could also be a personnel grouping thing. As I say that, if Ricky Pershaw is the one who's in the slot, I'd rather have Devon Witherspoon guarding him. Producer Colin's nodding his head in agreement, because we both are pretty smart football-wise and we love our Seahawks. But if it's a 12 personnel situation, and now on that slide, you've got George Kittle at tight end, and that nickel would have to cover George Kittle, no offense to Devon Witherspoon, I'd rather have Nick Emmanwori go up against him. I think that's a better matchup. So the question is it going to be a game-by-game basis? Is it going to be a personnel-by-personnel grouping? Is it going to be, hey, no, Devon Witherspoon's the nickel, or hey, no, Nick Emmanwori's the nickel? That is a question and a series of questions that we don't have answered yet. And frankly, I'm very intrigued to see what the answer will be. And I don't know that we're going to know it after week 1. Now, some questions that we do know, and we're going to know by week 1, is how the Seahawks linebacking group is going to look. We're first taking a look at the interior linebackers. Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight, that's your Mike, that's your Will linebacker. Nice thing is Tyrese Knight, he's already started working his way back into practice. I wouldn't be shocked if he's ready to go by the game. Now, if he isn't ready to go by the game, the backups are where I find an intriguing little position battle going. Drake Thomas ended up going out and winning that backup Will linebacker spot in the preseason. A lot of people were surprised that Patrick O'Connell ended up getting cut, myself included, and the reasoning behind that was because of how well Thomas had played. Now, you brought in Chaz Surratt in free agency. He's going to be your middle linebacker backup for Ernest Jones. He's also going to play a lot on your special teams. I am excited to see how Surratt fits into this defense, but no offense to Surratt, I hope that I don't see him all that much, because that means that Ernest Jones is still spearheading that defense and he's healthy. And I think your best defense is with Ernest Jones IV as healthy as possible, running around making plays from them, that Mike linebacker spot. Jumping over into the edges, we have another question that got answered here. Uchenna Nwosu is working his way back off the PUP list. He got cleared off the PUP list, and he's still kind of, fighting through his rehab assignment right now to get back ready to go. it does look like Seattle has listed Boye Mafe as the true backup to Nwosu. Nwosu, in my eyes, I don't expect him to go against the 49ers. Frankly, I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Uchenna Nwosu be ready to go by week 2, maybe not even week 3. So who is going to start in that spot? There was a question between would it be Derek Hall, would it be Boye Mafe? It's been clear from this depth chart, it's going to be Boye Mafe. I feel like Mafe has shown flashes of pure brilliance. And I think now that you have him, again, it's his second year in the defensive system. He's learned behind Uchenna Nwosu. He's got DeMarcus Lawrence there to help teach him some things. Iron sharpening iron, fighting that spot with Derek Hall, because Derek Hall was a person who could have gotten that position as well. You're going to get the best version of Boye Mafe that we've seen. And frankly, he's had moments of pure greatness, like I've said. I do expect Mafe to start multiple games this year for the Seahawks. And that's not because I think Uchenna Nwosu is going to be benched. I just am not sold that he's going to be ready to go. He's going to be ready to go before week 4. Otherwise, you wouldn't take him off the PUP list. But I think right now, when I see a video of him without pads on marching with a sled, I don't think you're quite ready for primetime, and that's okay. Get back healthy. We need you for week 17 on. It's okay if you miss weeks 1 and week 2. On the interior defensive line, no shock here. Leonard Williams getting the DN spot. Love that. Absolute beast. I think he's only going to be even better with his second year in the system. Byron Murphy, he's got to take a gigantic step up. I was listening to Brock and Salk the other day. I like to tune into other Seahawks content creators from time to time, see what they're saying. And they were talking about how Byron Murphy looked good his first year, but he didn't look great. You don't draft a guy in the first round to look good. You don't draft a guy with a pedigree like Byron Murphy had coming out of Texas to look good. You draft a guy like that to look great. I think he can take that next step forward. And then Jaron Reed's just a quality starter in the NFL. Hard to stop a guy like that. Now, I do want to jump into our special teams units. Now, as we're going through this, we're first going to look at our punter, kicker, and our long snapper because these spots are solidified. Jason Meyer, he's coming back. Love it. Myers is a solid kicker in the NFL. Michael Dixon, I'm still banging the drum. I think that he's one of, if not the best punter in the NFL. And then Chris Stoll. When's the last time that you saw a snap go over a Seahawks punter or holder's head? When's the last time you saw it? I know he's battling a back injury, so there was a little bit of a position battle there in training camp. Glad that he's back. Glad that he's returning for our Seahawks. Now, the returners is where it gets a little bit funkier because we've been dealing with some injuries in that room. We've also been dealing with some flat-out position changes and moves around in this offense. So right now, when it comes to returners, these are your 4 players who have been listed as a returner on one of the 2 special teams units. That's punt return and that's kick return, So right now, Torrey Horton and Jake Bobo have been listed as your punt returners. You've seen them both take punts back in the preseason. Now, there's some worry there because both Horton and Bobo are on your injury list right now. Do I think that both of them are going to be ready to go by week 1? Yes, I do. Does that necessarily mean that they will be slotted in right away to start as punt returners? Not necessarily, especially for Torrey Horton coming back from an ankle injury. Bobo's concussion is a little bit different. It's more based on feel for him and what the coaching staff is comfortable doing. When it comes to kick return, you've seen more of George Halani and Derek Young. Kick return specifically is why Derek Young was able to make the squad in special teams play. It's how he ended up coming in as that 5th wide receiver on this team. Don't be shocked if as he gets healthier and healthier, you see Torrey Horton get more run at that kick return spot as well. He's just so dynamic in open space. It feels like it would be a shame to not use him out there. Watching his big punt return against the Raiders, I felt like he made 4 or 5 guys miss, and he only gained 5 yards on that. Imagine what he can do with some good blocking and some real space against a more poor special teams unit than what they have going on down in Las Vegas. That's your Seattle Seahawks depth chart. I already plugged that on Twitter. I tweeted out as soon as I saw the depth chart, the latest information on the Seahawks. I am constantly doing that multiple times every day. I've got tweets on opinions for the Seahawks. The minute that news drops, I'm making sure that I'm tweeting it out, breaking that news. I'm tweeting out video content as well on my Instagram. I guess I should say posting, not tweeting, because you don't tweet from Instagram. It's all at Will Ortner. all lowercase, super easy to go and find. Make sure that you follow me over there to get the latest news and information on your Seattle Seahawks. Until next time, I'll see you later.